Welcome, everybody. To quote the opening Anglo-Saxon word to the poem Beowulf, Hwat. Welcome, hail, hark, and well met again. I'm joined, of course, tonight by my beloved wife, Samantha.
Hello.
In the midst of a sacred and holy pilgrimage. As we are embarking on this, and as the hour indeed runs late, I'm going to do a speed introduction of everybody present. I hope nobody minds. I just want to make sure that we are timely, as we are definitely juggling more than a few things, and as you will see, even a little bit of a late dinner as well. Of course, we are joined by my noble fellow warriors, my members of the fellowship. We have Roy, we have Abby, we have Ryan, we have, who else? Chris. We have my brother Chris.
Yes.
And we have my brother Matt as well, who is generously and kindly in the middle of everything on his plate, also helping us manage the live stream. God bless you, Matt. I owe you big time, and you are indeed in my rosary. So, anyone else I've missed? Right on. Okay, so we're about to embark on a spooky passage of the book of Jonah, and a spooky passage found in the book of Job, as it is Shark Week. It is Shark Week. And as it is Shark Week, I get asked in teaching Sunday school regularly, and by fellow nerd enthusiasts, whether indeed there are sea monsters in the Bible. Whether there are sea dragons in the Bible, whether there are sea scalies in the Bible. And the answer absolutely 1,000% is yes to the yes to the yes to the yes to the yes. And this is true in all world culture. I referenced Beowulf earlier. Certainly in every corner of the world, there are memories of these things. Now, whether we want to take them as actual aquatic creatures or allegory, I'm going to leave up to you. I'm simply going to say that the one guiding you in tonight's Bible study is a Tolkienic quack. I believe fully with all my heart that there are more interdimensional and physical realities than meet the eye. But that is just the cards on the table persuasion of Samantha and myself. All perspectives are welcome. So we're going to dive into Jonah chapter 2. Abby, are you... I'm going to give context, don't worry.
But okay, yeah, because I was just looking at chapter 1 and going, we're starting when, he's fallen, when he's been thrown overboard. And I didn't know if everybody was familiar with that, because I was sort of familiar, but I was like, well, I don't know, so I'm at chapter 2, but go ahead.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. Context is key. And often we think we know context when we really don't. So the book of Jonah. I have a fellow seminarian with me here tonight, Ryan, if you don't mind me putting you on the spot. In context, who is Jonah and why is he swallowed by, in the text really in the Hebrew, the great fish? Sometimes our English Bibles will translate it erroneously as the whale, although I'm not here to say it wasn't.
So Jonah is the son of Atai, I think is pronounced the name. He is a prophet, but he's a begrudging prophet. So God has called upon Jonah to declare a message to Nineveh. Nineveh is the great city of the Chaldeans. They are mortal enemies of the Jewish people, and so God is pronouncing judgment that they might repent. But Jonah, knowing the mercy of the Lord, that if they would repent, he will spare them. This does not please Jonah very much at all. And so instead of going towards Nineveh, he flees to Tarshish, where he is met on his adventure by a number of pagan sailors, and they end up throwing him overboard, where he meets his fishy friend.
That is very well put. Anyone want to add any other element to the context of how Jonah, as a begrudging prophet, runs away from his mission and is swallowed by this fishy friend? Very good. The way I perceive it is Ryan accurately puts, Jonah is the son of Atai. We often depict Jonah as a fairy tale or as a coloring book, but the real story in the Bible actually is very rooted in real historical people and real historical places and even real historical geography. For example, you have a genealogy for this figure named Jonah. It is true that Nineveh, the society of the Assyrian Empire, was an arch nemesis of the people of Israel. Archaeologically, we actually know when they had a battle, a siege even, that's recorded in secular as well as biblical history. We know, for example, that the Syrian Empire was responsible literally for dismemberment of limbs and for essentially a deportation protocol for all captured peoples. This is where the so-called 10 lost tribes of Israel supposedly go, according to the mainstream narrative. And it is very true that there is a murky place called Tarshish, which Jonah was trying to run to. Is anyone aware historically of some speculations where Tarshish might have been? We know the Apostle Paul tried to make it there, according to one tradition.
Didn't you say like Greece or something? Or like, no, because Paul made it to Greece. Where did he? I'm trying to remember.
Where did he
I
really want to go, but he couldn't get to, supposedly?
France?
You know, I was just reading an interesting theory that Paul makes his way to France and to Britain. While I don't think Paul made it there, I'm pretty convinced that Joseph of Arimathea did, but that's a whole other question. Not quite France. What was considered the edge of the known world at the time on Roman maps? There's two primary candidates.
Greece?
Not quite.
Let's take it to Spain.
Very good, Ryan. Hispania.
Oh,
Hispania.
okay. Spain.
Hispania.
Right.
Spain is the primary, right, and it's considered on the edge of barbarian lands, but still populated, to your point, Roy, by a lot of Gaulish-like peoples. What's interesting is another alternative theory. I find it less convincing, but Chuck Missler liked it, is that it would be Britannia. Either way, Paul wanted to travel to the so-called ends of the world and cosmic geography, and so does Jonah. Jonah wants to get away from Israel. Why? Because he believes he can outrun God on God's own turf, except God in the Hebrew Bible is the God of all the earth and the sea and the wind and the rain. Not some
Oh,
of it.
by the way, is my air conditioner too loud or something?
You sound amazing, Abby.
Oh, okay, fine. Okay, good. Because I'm gonna be reading, so I just wanted to make sure.
Very good. So I just want to emphasize, as I said, there are some real features. Jonah will walk through Nineveh for 3 days. It's a 3-day march. And there are other interesting archaeological clues. But people still ask to this day, asking Nineveh to be spared from total destruction on the part of Nineveh's people. And of course, other elements seem very relatable, but a lot of people stumble at the fish. So let's figure out, who is our fishy friend today? Is it a shark? Is it a megalodon? Is it a whale? Is it the Kraken? If it isn't, release the Kraken, then what creature could it be? So let's look at this text and we'll think of some questions or poetical ideas that come to mind. Take it away, Abby.
So, because I was grown up in the Episcopal persuasion, I am going to start this with a reading from the book of Jonah. From inside the fish, Jonah prayed to the Lord, to the Lord his God. He said, in my distress, I called to the Lord, and he answered me. From the depths of the grave, I called for help, and you listened to my cry. You hurled me into the deep, into the very heart of the seas, and the currents swirled about me. All your waves and breakers swept over me. I said, I have been banished from your sight, yet I will look again toward your holy temple. The engulfing waters threatened me. Sorry, there's all these notes in the NIV.
Oh, yeah.
and deep surrounded me. Seaweed was wrapped around my head. To the roots of the mountains I sank down. The earth beneath barred me in forever. But you brought my life up from the pit, O Lord my God. When my life was ebbing away, I remembered you, Lord, for my prayer rose to you, to your holy temple. Those who cling to worthless idols forfeit the grace that could be theirs. But I, with a song of thanksgiving, will sacrifice to you. What I have vowed, I will make good. Salvation comes from the Lord.
You may continue, Abby, to him being vomited on
Okay.
Jonah.
And the Lord commanded the fish, and it vomited Jonah onto dry land. That's chapter 2.
Yeah, that is chapter 2. So I have a bunch of points I want to prod you with, but does anything deliciously weird strike you about where Jonah seems to be going to? Or anything else that strikes you as unusual, odd, strange, spooky, even in the text?
The like the mountains being like underneath the ocean. That's like kind of scientific.
It is scientific. The Bible is unique in a lot of contexts for actually describing, submarine reality in a seemingly accurate way. There are other passages in the Psalms that suggest a similar element. Fans of J.R.R. Tolkien, is there a phrase you see repeated in Tolkien but only mentioned once in this song that you may remember with relationship to Gollum?
The roots of the mountains.
Yes. Does anyone know why Tolkien picked on that phrase from the Book of Jonah?
It was the defeat.
It's the foundations.
You had to throw the ring in the mountain of
That is
fire.
true. Tolkien has a lot of idea of going to the roots of the mountains, right? Like allegorically the heart of the earth or the heart of the sea. But Abby, you might remember this. Do you remember a certain translation project that Tolkien was involved in?
Oh, the OED? No. Oh,
No.
wait. He did some Bible translation, didn't he?
Yes, he did. He was requested by the English translators of the Jerusalem Bible to do the book of Jonah. Some people think he
Oh.
secretly did more.
Interesting.
And I'm
Okay.
of that persuasion. So if you pick up a modern copy of the Jerusalem Bible to this day, you'll see hints of Tolkien's translation. It's been updated since. He loved Jonah. He loved Jonah as a book. And he was fascinated with that phrase, at the roots of the mountains. You can really tell it echoed in his mind. There's a name for this place. It appears as the word grave or pit in the English translation here in the NIV. Does anyone know what realm that is in Hebrew?
Oh, Sheol.
Very good. And what is Sheol, Chris?
It's where the Jewish people go to wait for God's judgment, I think.
Very good. Any other
Wait,
thoughts about
wait.
this realm, Sheol?
Is it different than Tartarus or the underworld?
Very happy. That's brilliantly asked. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Anyone want to offer any distinctions or identification between Hades, Sheol, Tartarus, and of course Elysium, and of course any other portions like the bosom of Abraham, Gehenna? Anyone want to elaborate on that?
Well, Tartarus is the place where wicked people go, according to a lot of Greeks who were pagan at the time. And Hades is kind of like where you go after you die, and you get reunited with your family. And it, depending on how depending on how you lived your life, there's varying degrees of how, tolerable it is. And then that's kind of like the Greek philosophy of, and Elysium is like where heroes go, where people that lived a good life or were super courageous went. And the Sheol is kind of like level, from what I read and heard about it. Sheol's kind of like a level where there's the righteous, and they get, they receive the light of God, and then it kind of gets divided into like people who were murdered where they're waiting for justice, and then there was just like people who were, followed the law, and yeah, it's kind of like divided into different sections.
Does anyone want to add to Chris's excellent descriptions of a multi-layered underworld? Yeah, I mean, I would love to take that. Oh yeah, take away, Ryan.
I think then there's I think Abraham's bosom is where the righteous go. I think I think that's one more name that should be mentioned. Is that like and that's kind of gets mentioned in the story in the parable of Lazarus and the rich man, that he goes to be with Abraham's bosom or something like that.
Yep, and Gehenna, named after the Valley of Hinnom, which is the area where unwanted children would be left and trash would be burning, becomes an analogy for a truly ontological place in the underworld for punishment as well, from which we understand hell. Yep.
Yeah. I was like, isn't that the Christian understanding of hell? Like,
yeah, absolutely.
You go there and you suffer for all eternity in the lake of fire.
Well, precisely. And Jesus, by the way, refers to as unquenchable again and again and again and again and again and again and again. So it's curious that, once again, we associate the preaching of Jesus with love and mercy, and that is true, but no New Testament figure talks more about that place, curiously enough, than the historical Jesus of Nazareth. But before we get sidetracked, this is what I will say. Sheol is a general term for many ideas in the Hebrew Bible. It can mean literally a grave as a grave you dig in the ground. It can also mean the realm of the underworld generally, of which there are parts, there are sections. And what's clear is that by the time the New Testament is written, and earlier when the book of Enoch and the Dead Sea Scrolls are written, right, there are very specific logia, right? I mean, you have terms like the bosom of Abraham, which appears elsewhere. It's not just on the lips of Jesus. What Chris was talking about, the murdered waiting, pleading, Abel is running around in the book of Hebrews, canonically, and in Enoch, crying out for justice, interestingly enough. It appears in Revelation too, by the way, chapter, I believe, 5 or 4. And once again, there's just an emphasis on this being a interdimensional realm. Yes, subterranean in a sense, but really not just physically down, also other in a mystical sense, right? How we began our study today. So, if Jonah is...
Wait, hang on. So, am I to believe that Jonah was like actually thrown overboard, but he maybe he wasn't actually thrown overboard? Am I to believe that this is like a dream that he had? Maybe, like, did this actually happen to him? Like, it seems so kind of, I don't know, fanciful kind of.
Let me double down on that question, Abby. When Jonah was swallowed by the fish, is he alive in the belly of the fish, or is he biologically, physically dead, or is he in a comatose state, or is it?
I mean, he's able to think. I mean, he's able to, like, cry out to the Lord and say all these things. So I'm assuming he's not dead. I don't know. I'm not sure.
By the way, there are open questions about this. I'm not saying there are any clear-cut answers. I do believe he was swallowed by a beast in the literal ocean, for example. What thoughts do we have? What thoughts does this provoke? Abby asked a very good question about the nature of, I would say, the visionary experience, and the nature, by the way, I would add, of what kind of animal is this thing? Before we transition possibly into Job as to a possible answer.
So I had this question in seminary because like I thought there seems to be with the way that Jesus refers to the sign of Jonah, almost as death. For me, I was like, well, maybe he died because there's that allusion to Sheol here. My seminary professor pushed back on that interpretation, but it still stirs excitement within me to think about the possibility of him dying. I mean, I certainly believe in the death and resurrection of Jesus. So if I believe that, why can't I believe in a death and resurrection of Jonah uh or an escape of Jonah from the whale? It's like what is harder to say, rise, pick up your bed and walk, or to your sins are forgiven? It's like it's easier to imagine that Jonah was spared from the whale, and yet I believe this greater miracle of uh of sorry, it's hard to imagine him surviving a whale, and yet on the other hand, I believe a greater miracle of the death and resurrection of Jesus. And so I really like, I know I'm rambling now, but the death and resurrection of Jesus empowers me to believe deeper in the miracle of Jonah, if that makes sense.
Oh, 1,000%. That's not rambling at all. You said everything I wanted to say, man. Can
I riff?
I'm glad I'm not the only one, and you are not the only one in light of historical commentaries, etc. But what are some other opinions? Do others believe that Jonah physically dies? Is he conscious going down into the great deep? Is the animal in question an animal, or is it both physical and interdimensional in a sense? What do we make of it?
So you got to go back. I'm going to go a little bit in chapter 1. So before the only thing that quelled the storm above the water was the sacrifice of Jonah, which is a godly presence, right? A prophet, a tension point. The man-made sacrifices were not acceptable. And Jonah is the vehicle. Jonah is swallowed and he prays, but he's being led in a direction that he doesn't control.
Mhm.
If you're getting my right, he's bound holistically, bodily and he's being brought down, and he surrenders his prayer and sacrifices. So I see the whale as a vehicle, a beastly vehicle of a sacred sacrifice. If I could go on a little bit more, but I don't want.
No, I think, and feel free to go there if you want to. When you say, Roy, that Jonah is both Adam and Christ,
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
but take it away. In what sense is he Adam? Why is the storm there in the first place? Why is everybody fearful that they will all die unless he will be thrown overboard?
I
Why
mean,
is he-
because of what? Well, I guess because of what Eve did. That's what you're getting at, right? The knowledge of the tree and the good and evil and the fall of humanity. Is that what you're getting at?
Well, yeah, disobedience generally. I mean, it's
Yeah.
curious
Yeah.
that the Bible never calls it the sin of Eve,
Mhm.
even though that has been regrettable, maybe emphasis, right? And
Yeah.
theology of the West.
Unfortunately, they in the medieval ages they did kind of focus on that a lot.
But in reality,
Yeah.
the Bible primarily refers to it as the sin of who?
Adam.
Adam, right? So there's this idea in which, if you believe in the idea of an original sin and everything falls to crap and we need a redemption, which as a Christian minister I do, Jonah here is an image of that. Jonah's committed a sin, therefore everybody in the boat is in peril. They're all going to die, by the way, unless they throw him overboard.
Mm-hmm.
So how is he like Jesus? What's in what way does he imitate
Yeah.
Christ here? You could say that
Blood
loud
was
yourself.
around me, the waves and billows passed over me. Right?
So
He's
he basically says, "I'm willing to just pick me up and throw me over. I'm the one that God wants."
Yeah, no, like
It's a
quite
person.
Yeah.
It's like a human sacrifice.
Humans, yeah,
Yeah.
a sacrifice, pretty much. Yeah.
well, and not just a human sacrifice, because that implies once again. Well, so what's the difference between self-sacrifice
Self-sacrifice.
Yeah,
a human
that's more what I
sacrifice?
meant. Yeah, sorry,
Yeah.
self-sacrificing. Yeah.
I know. I think it's a good question, though. What is the difference between a human sacrifice? We'll throw the virgin in the volcano, or a self-sacrificial love. For example, a general laying down his life for his soldiers, or Gandalf, for example, on the Bridget, right?
Well,
What's the big difference?
one, you willingly lay down your life, and the other, you're kind of just, they kind of just say, "We're gonna sacrifice you."
This is my body given up for you. This is the chalice of my blood, the blood of the new and eternal covenant, poured out for you and for many for the forgiveness of sins. Do this in remembrance of me. This is the very concept, quite frankly, that I don't think, and this is my own personal opinion, people are welcome to an alternative opinion. This is the reality that empirical science cannot fully explain. It's the love that allows a parent to lay down their life for a child who's in harm's way. It's the love, to quote Dante Alighieri, that moves the sun, the moon, and the stars. It's found in all world cultures and all world times, but I believe it to be uniquely embodied, of course, in the person of Jesus of Nazareth, through the Nicene Creed, fully God and fully human, right? And C.S. Lewis calls that the natural law, for sure.
Yeah, well, also, one of the things I also find fascinating is that it's also the love that makes this complete stranger be able to lift a car just to get another one of his neighbors out from underneath it.
Or or a neighbor running into a burning building.
Yeah.
To save somebody, and you could say that firefighters are kind of sacrificing, but they're also doing it. It's not like they're not. It's not quite the same because that's their job, right? It's not like I'm not saying that firefighters are not wanting to sacrifice themselves, but they have a little bit more at stake than just random acts of sacrifice.
Well, I think if you, from what I, it's like, it's not necessarily a job. It's like a calling for them. A couple of my friends were like an EMT, and I'm just like, why did you decide to become an EMT? And he's like, I just felt called to do it.
One of the fascinating elements which is raised here, right, is the fact that this animal, the sea monster, right, even the sea monster that either literally is an interdimensional door, like a hellmouth. I was about to mention Greek Orthodox icons, right, which will show Jesus being baptized. He goes down into the water. What's at the bottom of the water? Often it's a hellmouth, because of the ancient Semitic connection between water and chaos. The word Tahom being associated possibly with the Ugaritic Tiamat, the sea dragon. Right? But not
Tiamat.
I've
fought Tiamat many times in D&D.
Yes, in D&D, both. In D&D, Tiamat is alive and well. Who is a
I
cosmic...
didn't know. I feel like I've heard the name Tiamat because I'm in the fantasy space, but I didn't know that it was a religious symbol or anything.
Well, that is a perfect segue to where we want to go. And I was about to mention all the history of the martyrdom and how it was redefined recently, even by Rome, curiously enough. But let's dive into, because it's a sea monster question here. Tiamat And Leviathan in Job chapter 41, Sam, if we can get your generous assistance. These may very well be the same creatures. In
Oh
fact,
wait, the Leviathan is in the Bible. Oh wow. Okay,
right,
I feel so dumb. I've heard both of these terms, and I'm like, well, there's dragons, or the Leviathan is like a sea monster. I'm like, this is a biblical term. Okay,
Mm.
I think my mind is blown. Anyway, keep going.
No. Well, actually, let me ask. So, what familiarity, before one started reading the Bible or any familiarity with the Bible, what was your first reference to Leviathan? Mine was the Disney movie Atlantis,
Yep,
where Leviathan is a sea monster in the film.
a mechanical sea monster.
Jiminy
Gigantic
Cricket!
robot.
It's a robot!
I mean, I guess there was like the whale in Pinocchio, right?
Mm.
Very good.
I
Divine
mean-
Sinbad and the Seven Voyages.
of Sinbad.
Mm.
Mhm. Any other memories of good old Leviathan growing up?
Mm.
I mean, there's the world serpent, but we don't know Jormungandr, who's like the the serpent, but I don't know if he's considered a sea serpent or not.
Oh no, Jormungandr is considered a sea serpent for sure. And of course, we were referencing Tiamat, who is a world serpent, also slain by the head of the pantheon, and actually in the biblical text, slain by Yahweh. If you really want to get into the rhythm behind references in the Psalms, right, against Rahab, presumably the same name for the same animal, maybe another. Right. The idea is chaos is the serpent. The serpent of chaos is tamed by the presence of God of some kind, right? So what's unique, right, is all world cultures seem to be hinting at this. And if you believe that there is a real massive sea serpent, either biologically or interdimensionally, or however you want to interpret that, it's curious that all world people seem to be referring to the same bloody thing. It doesn't matter what part of the world they're from. Aboriginal cultures have the exact same cosmological framework. It's like the Bible is this archetypical reality buried or rooted in them. This is why Paul says in Romans chapter 1 that the law of God is written on our hearts. Ryan, man, with covenant theology, we could really get into that one. So the question really, as we're about to go through this text, it's a very old text about Leviathan, the sea serpent, is one. Do you smell eyewitness testimony, or do you see this as a pretty poem? I'm going to be honest. I hear a lot of eyewitnessy kind of sounding things here, which sound like nautical memory. And then two, could this be the creature that was responsible for Jonah? And if so, once again, is it merely material or spiritual or both? I don't think the ancient world had a dichotomy between those two. So, or any other thoughts that come to mind? I just want to perk your mind as we go into this. All right. So usually I'll give. Oh yeah.
Yeah. I just was thinking of Genesis, but
Go do it, Roy.
Genesis 5th day, Genesis 1:20th, and he so God created great sea monsters and every living creature that moves. So I always thought that was a Genesis hook for sea monsters. Not why would the word monster be used?
I'm remembering a certain movie where Beowulf reminds his adversary that he lost the swimming race to Brecca because of sea monsters. And Chris, do you remember the one-liner about how many monsters keeps on being added every time to the tale?
Oh, the last time it was 3.
Oh, you mean that movie? Which I still haven't seen that movie. I love the soundtrack. It's amazing. With Robin Wright. She is no longer Robin Wright Penn. Anyway, that movie. Are you talking about something else?
That is correct, Amanda. Yeah.
Okay.
I was thinking of Beowulf, where he's like saying, "I was dragged down to the depths by a sea serpent." And he's like, "Oh, how many sea serpents did you slay?" 9. and and Ulfang was like, "Oh, last time it was 3."
Can I reread KJV through my eSword? I think it. So-
by all means, and by the way, you were
And-
referencing the exact same movie, by the way. Very
Yeah,
good.
and-
Very, very
And this is King James. And
King James,
God
yep.
created great whales and every living creature that moveth, and brought forth abundantly after their kind.
Yes.
And it goes on and on and on.
Interesting.
whales.
Yeah, that's
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's interesting. So John, in your opinion, was King James wrong, or whoever translated the King James Bible when they said great whales? Because you said that was kind of a misnomer, maybe.
Yeah, it definitely is a misnomer. I use the King James nearly daily, by the way. But the King James is an era specific translation of a specific translation style. It's very poetic.
For instance, the King James will say corn in place of grain.
Yes. Because
Right.
corn doesn't exist.
So the Hebrew word really denotes sea animals, right? So that could be
Right.
fish, it could be dolphins, it could be porpoises, it could be whales, it could be megalodons, it could be sea dinosaurs, it can be all the above, or it could be something more terrible than all of those things combined, which we'll be discussing. And so what I would argue is that when whale is translated, think of whales being noticed uniquely in the North Sea for the first time. I think that they were moved by their personal experience to translate it that particular.
Right, I would say it's because it would be more prominent in the culture because they would be using whale oil.
Oh, yeah.
So you would have ships that literally go out and hunt the whales. And when you harpoon a giant whale and it's pulling your massive ship along, it's that might be why they tied it in with monster.
It's daunting.
Yeah, I mean,
So-
you're
It's a
likely
big unknown beastie. is
Yeah,
what it
you're
is.
likely as much as not to be hit by the whale and chomped to your death, right? I mean, how many whaling ships didn't come back, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, my ancestors who were whalers, what I would say is, no matter what modern environmental take you want to perceive, they really put their entire lives on the line for essentially making sure the lights stayed on, and that's a very big deal before gas and electric at the end of the day. What's interesting is if you ever read the book The Tragedy of the Whale Ship Essex by Nathaniel Philbrick, which is a movie, by the way, called In the Heart of the Sea.
Heart of the Sea,
Yeah, they made a movie with Thor in that one, Hemsworth.
Oh,
What's interesting about it, right, is that there was a real case where a real whale, I believe it was a sperm whale, ended up cutting a ship basically in two. So what's interesting, by the way, is to your point, Ryan, earlier, is it physical death or not? Those who say that he's physically alive will point out there is the story of an individual. I didn't do my homework to look up his precise name, but it was a real case in the 1800s of someone who was swallowed by a whale and survived to tell the tale, by the way, and had their skin bleached based off of some of the digestive fluid found in the belly of the whale. However, it's my strong opinion that Ryan, our thesis, I think is correct. I think he's physically dead because his soul is both underwater, but it's also in the underworld. It is very much in the underworld. It is very much in Sheol. It's
I
very
think
much, look it up.
And that definitely brings out the sense of what our our original audience would have been thinking. It carries the connotations of death, of the underworld. And I think that is equally as important for us as modern readers to observe.
Oh, 100%. This segues neatly into our reading about Leviathan, because it's not merely up is up and down is down. There's a cosmic geography that is involved here. So no matter what transcribes in terms of, is he conscious? Is he not conscious? Is he in a coma? What is clear here is that from the ancient understanding interdimensionally, and I use that term very, very strongly, they understood that to be the realm of Tiamat, of Tachom in Hebrew. It becomes Tachom, the same word for the abyss of Revelation, by the way, translated into from Hebrew into Greek. So,
Hmm.
I did want to mention before we do
Oh, yeah.
continue that the canon of scripture sees Jonah as a historical figure because he also shows up in about a character by the same name shows up in the Chronicle Kings, which is not a poetic book. So
oh, without question, it's my
Mhm.
it's my assessment that the folk were involved in a certain Lutheran schism that happened in the 20th century called Semenex, who walked away and said, Jonah's allegory, were they were not being honest about the original reception of this text. This text was received by its original audience as a historical memory. And I mean, I don't say that just because of my theological bias. I do have a bias towards inerrancy and inerrancy. But for me, when I look at how ancient authors dealt with this, including Josephus and others, they are treating this as a historical man with an historical encounter and with a real city he was getting to, and therefore a real beast. So, as I said, I think that needs to be understood here, because if you try to at least look at it through that lens, it changes what we're talking about. I generally do. I think we are mentally geared to put on what kind of glasses, Sam? Not rose tinted. I'd call them cartoon child glasses. Right? So that we don't realize, I mean, God is saying, go preach to the city, lest I vaporize it in the first few. That's not for kids. Jonah goes down into hell. That's not for kids. He preaches to the city at the end. Sorry to spoil the end of the book. And he's angry that it's not being vaporized because, death to all the enemies of the people of God from his mind view. That's not for kids. So this is an adult story. It is an adult story for a mature audience who understands real men, real women, and real events. Now, I think we should teach it to children, just in a form that realizes that kids can handle a lot of dark stuff. Hence the Grimm fairy tales, by the way. Kids can handle quite a bit.
I feel like it was kind of like sanitized to the child. Like the only thing I remember is like Jonah, gets swallowed by the whale, and then God saves him, and he, gets spit out again. Kind of like, oh, happy ever after, kind of.
Yeah, Jonah gets swallowed up, and he prays for 3 days, and then he gets spat back out. That's basically what they taught in the Sunday school. For me,
and I think that's good for a 2-year-old. But I don't think a 5-year-old or a 10-year-old should stop there. And I'm, this is one of the things why I'm a big believer in adult Bible study, because unfortunately, I think if that's all you remember about Jonah, you're like, oh, how cute. You read the book. Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. But down to whether the sea fish is actually, they're land fish, land shark. Now down to figure out whether, and I haven't grabbed my pint yet. Now to figure out whether this monster is possibly Leviathan. So this is a poem found in the book of Job. Certainly, this is one of the oldest books in the Hebrew Bible. Some will claim it is the oldest book in the Hebrew Bible. I actually think the oldest book actually in the Hebrew Bible is Genesis, but we could go back and forth about that all day long. Sam, this is, we don't really need much of a background. Job is, of course, a man who has lost everything from God, and God is now revealing to him the wonders of his creation. And this includes this strange creature. So fire away, Sam.
All right. From Job chapter 41. Can you pull in Leviathan with a fish hook, or tie down its tongue with a rope? Can you put a cord through its nose, or pierce its jaw with a hook? Will it keep begging you for mercy? Will it speak to you with gentle words? Will it make an agreement with you for you to take it as your slave for life? Can you make a pet of it like a bird, or put it on a leash for the young women in your house?
Can you make a pet for it? Can you take it in with a fish hook? Is God being sarcastic?
Or is he describing him conquering the Leviathan?
Exactly. Keep going, Sam.
Will traders barter for it? Will they divide it up among the merchants? Can you fill its hide with harpoons or its head with fishing spears? If you lay a hand on it, you will remember the struggle and never do it again. Any hope of subduing it is false. The mere sight of it is overpowering. No one is fierce enough to rouse it. Who then is able to stand against me? Who has a claim against me that I must pay? Everything under heaven belongs to me. I will not fail to speak of Leviathan's limbs, its strength and its graceful form. Who can strip off its outer coat? Who can penetrate its double coat of armor? Who dares open the doors of its mouth, ringed about with fearsome teeth? Its back has rows of shields tightly sealed together. Each is so close to the next that no air can pass between. They are joined fast to one another. They cling together and cannot be parted. Its snorting throws out flashes of light. Its eyes are like the rays of dawn. Flames stream from its mouth.
Flames stream from its mouth.
Sparks of fire shoot out.
Is that where we get dragons breathing fire from?
Keep that in your mind. Let's keep going because it gets even more in that direction. It gets more Smaugish very quickly.
Smoke pours from its nostrils as from a boiling pot over burning reeds. Its breath sets coals ablaze, and flames dart from its mouth. Strength resides in its neck, dismay goes before it. The folds of its flesh are tightly joined, they are firm and immovable. Its chest is hard as rock, hard as a lower millstone. When it rises up, the mighty are terrified. They retreat before its thrashing. The sword that reaches it has no effect, nor does the spear or the dart or the javelin.
Really, the word dart there should be arrow. So no black arrow can pierce the hide of Leviathan. Hobbit fans, beware. Keep going, Sam.
Iron it treats like straw, and bronze like rotten wood. Arrows do not make it flee. Sling stones are like chaff to it. A club seems to it but a piece of straw. It laughs at the rattling of the lance.
So this is an interesting element, right? The beast here has been described as a fire-breathing water dweller, but here's the first time we have a personality to the beast. The beast does what, Sam?
It laughs at the rattling of the lance.
So the beast is sentient. The beast is the beast in the text is sentient. The beast mocks its attackers, but it gets worse and more Smaugish pretty quickly. Keep going.
Yeah.
He
Sam.
doesn't know Bard the Bowman yet.
He is
Right.
not. He hasn't met Jesus the Bowman. Luke Evans rules.
Yeah.
Its undersides are jagged potsherds, leaving a trail in the mud like a threshing sledge. It makes the depths churn like a boiling cauldron and stirs up the sea like a pot of ointment. It leaves a glistening wake behind it. One would think the deep had white hair.
I'm just going to make a note there. We'll finish the chapter, then we'll do a general commentary. What's interesting is that if this was simply poetry as some claim, why on earth is the ocean being described in physical detail like ointment on water or like foam on the water or boiling on the water? It's as if an eyewitness has seen the sea begin to boil and is freaking out, right? So there's something going on there in a physical sense. I don't have a time machine. If I did, I'd let you know. But something's going on there. Keep going, Sam.
Nothing on earth is its equal. A creature without fear.
Oh, whoa. Nothing on earth is its equal. A creature without fear. Anyone know the song Mighty Fortress by Luther?
Yes. Yeah.
One little foul, one little foul.
Word. Yeah,
Or
so-
subdue.
subdue him or fell him is a
Yeah.
better translation. And then
Yeah.
who is not on earth his equal?
Oh.
A mighty fortress is our God, a fortress never failing, our helper, he amidst the flood of mortal errors prevailing. For still our ancient foe doth
foe,
seek
you
to
work
work
us
us
woe.
woe. His power and craft are great, and cruel is his hate. On earth is not
Is
his
not
equal.
his equal.
So that is Sauron Satan then. So,
Right.
Yeah.
So, and it gets more specific here. So, Sam, take it away.
It looks down.
Yep.
Oh, sorry.
No, no.
Sorry. I went on to the next verse.
Yeah, and
It looks down on all that are haughty. It is king over all that are proud.
whoa!
Mm.
It not only laughs at all of its enemies, it is considered a king. Hebrew melech, right? It's a melech of all those who are proud.
Wait, is a Leviathan Satan or a fallen angel or something?
Mhm.
Take it away, Sam.
Me?
Yep.
Good.
Is that the end of the job?
That's the end.
Oh, jolly. So, Abby has foisted the question. What are we dealing with here? Are we dealing with a biological creature? Are we dealing with a fallen angel under the guise of a creature? And is this the one who swallows Jonah? How might that, if it was, how might that be a foreshadowing of the events of a certain death and resurrection, paschal mystery of Jesus of Nazareth a little bit later? Fire away. Let them fight. Or agree. What's your perceptions of this strange sea monster?
Well, it sounds as if
Go ahead, Chris.
it sounds as if somebody's describing something that they've seen. You
Mhm.
know, I mean, it's like I mean, Job is probably one of the oldest books, but it was probably written during the exile when Daniel was during the Babylonian exile, and I think it's possible that they're just like writing down what they've experienced.
It makes you wonder, Chris, given all the world culture of sea serpents.
Can I
And that
context
incredible-
probe a little bit for that?
Fire away, Roy.
So when
Oh,
we're
excuse me.
talking about like Job, Satan is at the ear of the Lord with Christ. So it's not Satan because he's still there because this beast has been cast down.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't want to go off the path, but I kind of want to like give the breadcrumbs. So there is an accomplice with Satan who I think is separate from Satan, and that's the Lucifer, right? There's a separation between the archangel Satan and the seraphim and the cherubim. But I don't want to go. I support that on another day with another pint. But within Job, we know scripturally that Satan was with God, and that's why God let Satan do this to Job.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I just want to quickly unpack what you were saying for those who might not be able to follow. But you raise a really good point, Roy. Very, very good point. So obviously, there is it has been interpreted by some that there is a development of the fallen angel figure throughout the Hebrew Bible into the New Testament, and with it, the intertestamental figure. You see the character of a cosmic rebel fighting against Jesus in the New Testament, right? And that figure is described both as a dragon and as the great serpent and as the devil, and by implication, by the way, a fallen angel in Revelation chapter 12. He sweeps a third of the stars down from heaven. Stars are angels in Second Temple Judaism, right? Now, there is the critical scholarly analysis that this figure in Second Temple Judaism, the Judaism of Jesus, is a summation of several cosmic rebels throughout the Hebrew Bible. You have the Nakash, who is really a dragon, not a snake, a dragon in Genesis 3. You have, of course, the rebel in Isaiah who wants to ascend over God's throne and is cast down to Sheol, into the underworld, right? You have, in the book of Job, you have an accuser. He seems to be more like a prosecuting attorney. Some people want to claim he's on God's payroll staff. Others see him, particularly about the time of Jesus, see him as an inherently malevolent figure. So what Roy, and I don't want to misrepresent Roy, but some will make the claim because Satan appears before the throne of God in earlier chapters of Job, and you have this monster who's the king of all those who are of pride, who's in the water or in the underworld. How can God have Satan before the throne and under the water at the same time? Maybe there is more than one cosmic rebel here. That is the opinion of Dr. Michael Heiser, by the way. Very interesting scholar in the evangelical world. This, I want to add, is not the viewpoint of classical, patristic, or mainline Protestant, Catholic, or Orthodox theology. Most mainline Protestants, Orthodox, or Roman Catholic theology will say that all these figures are actually one, but we're dealing with interdimensional beings, and of course, a third of a bunch of other fallen angels fell with them, right? So Luther would, obviously claim that this is all.
Yeah, it could have been a fallen angel.
Right. Luther will say that this is all Lucifer, but it could refer to also one of his fallen angels as well. No matter which way you roll the dice, can we just confess here for a moment? Does this only appear to be an animal in the text, in the mind of the ancient author?
No.
No.
Right.
It
Not an animal.
seems to be a very
Supernatural.
supernatural and sentient and intelligent form. So I can understand why Luther would think that it was the devil.
Yeah. And even if it wasn't, the head honcho, there's a great line in the movie The Exorcist where the demoniac young girl, right, says, well, I'm not the devil, I am a devil, right? And that is standard, mainline Protestant Orthodox Catholic theology for sure, right? There's a third of the stars fell with it, right? So
I agree with you, John.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so like I said, no matter which way you cut it, right, this is clearly an interesting creature. In J.R.R. Tolkien, an all-world myth. All-world myth. That's a bold statement I just made. I hope someone tries to fact-check me. An all-world myth.
I mean, I am kind of curious now. Like, I do not know many of the world's myths, and I'm just like, obviously, obviously Ethiopia is not going to have a seafaring myth because they're landlocked, but or Tajikistan or whatever other countries are completely landlocked. But I'm just like, does every country or every culture have a sea serpent myth, or just the few that we've been able to come up with? So anyway, keep going. That's just me pondering.
So to your point, right? Ethiopia, landlocked country. They have a seafaring narrative. They read it every day of the week: Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, depending on what chapter of the big text they're reading. Where are they reading that seafaring myth?
In the Bible.
Yeah, and in their own oral tradition. They read the Bible mixed with their ecclesiastical tradition as an Orthodox church. And by the way, they claim to go back all the ways to Solomon. So if you buy what they say, they might have been doing that for 3,000 years ago. They're a landlocked country and they're talking about this. I think that's it. I find that curious.
Huh? Yeah, it is really interesting because there's no seafaring culture there at all. like you
Yeah.
would think, right? Because there's no ocean.
Yeah, and so what it suggests is migration. It suggests
Mhm.
people movement. It suggests oral memory that may even predate this. So my question is, in all worlds culture, I would say the majority of serpents with legs, possibly with wings, uh, they usually are what?
Malevolent.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily so, because the
No.
East will view some of them as benevolent. I
Mm.
am a little worried about that, but that's besides the point. They're
Well,
all
yeah,
considered.
in
Yeah.
the Celtic in the Druidic culture, serpents were viewed as wisdom. It was a symbol for wisdom.
Which is really interesting since
Yeah.
science claims that there are no snakes in Ireland. There have never been snakes. It's curious that you have all this written material that seems to suggest otherwise.
Yeah.
That's interesting, by the way. Do you believe your eyewitnesses or do you believe what you dug up? Yes, it's a good question.
Yeah.
But the question really goes like this. Are they biological or are the majority of them divine beings or supernatural beings?
Well, I think for sure, it could be supernatural beings, because, you know, and could God have had one of these beings come through a kind of like a portal and swallow Jonah up? That's definitely possible.
My friends who are aware of Nerdland, Pirates of the Caribbean 2. Sorry, 3 at World's End.
Yeah.
Jack Sparrow has been swallowed by,
The Kraken.
and the Kraken is seemingly a biological figure. However, through the Kraken's mouth, where does Johnny Depp end up, both body and soul?
Davy Jones' locker, which is basically hell.
Yeah. Yeah. He goes body and soul down. Bible nerds. Those who remember this maybe from the movie The Ten Commandments with Charlton Heston, they kind of conflate the timelines. Who goes down alive, body and soul, into the underworlds at an earthquake, resisting Moses? Ryan, Roy, anyone remember?
So sorry.
No, dude, you rocked, Ryan. No worries. No reason to apologize.
You
We'll
said
be wrapping
something
up
about
soon, I think.
Moses?
Yes, with Moses being resisted by some guys who are swallowed up body and soul into shale.
By the sons of Korah.
Yep. Because they are trying to do what?
Did they try to take the sacred things for themselves?
Yeah, they try to become priests. God says
Mhm.
you can be priest helpers, Levites, but you're not of the sons of Aaron, so don't try and do it. So that would be the sin of
Pride.
pride. Very good, right? So once again, the sons of pride, and that along with their children and families, which gets into all kinds of troubling elements with modern theology, right? They're swallowed bodily down, right? So this idea, is Jonah physically dead, or is it just his soul that's going down to Sheol? I'm going to bracket that and say that while I think good people can disagree, the text, I think, is suggesting both and, right?
Mm-hmm.
So here's the crazy part. Jonah cries out to what that releases him. Not just a who, but a what. What does Jonah cry out to?
The Lord,
Lord.
right? Wait.
Yep, the Lord. And where does the Lord geographically have a kind of throne room, footstool?
To the Holy Temple.
Yeah.
The Holy Temple,
So-
yeah.
So here's the question. Did Jonah physically see God's throne?
It's possible.
Yeah,
Even
'cause it's
where he is, God can basically go anywhere. He has power over both heaven and hell.
in the story, in the narrative, right, of the rich man and Lazarus. The rich man who's in Gehenna, the not good place. Can he see Abraham and everybody in the good place?
No. Wait. Yeah, he can, right?
Mhm.
Wait.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
can, right?
He can't get to them. He can just see them.
Just see it. Yeah, you can just see them.
The context of the reading of the second chapter is that he survived, right? He's recounting this prayer,
Yes, he is.
right?
Mhm.
So I not just trying to. So he,
What I would say is there's a difference between being a visitor and a permanent resident.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
There have been a
That's
lot of
fun.
visitors to warn people from becoming permanent residents, and if it was the happy place, I don't think he would have had the phrase here. And because you had turned your face from me, right? The Hebrew word panim, face, can also mean bread of the face or bread of the.
Presents.
Say that louder, Sam.
Presents.
Presence, right? Right. So
Mhm.
the idea, once again, he wants the presence of God again. So what I'd say is, once again, no matter what we think of what's really going on with Shark Week here in the Bible world, or the Kraken here in the Bible world, I think it's curious that in the supernatural realm, it's not, once again, I'm down here and I can't see you guys up there. At least in the biblical texts, and once again, Luther would have agreements and disagreements, so would Calvin, so would Zwingli and everybody else. It does seem to be a sense in that there is an understanding of where God's throne is, even if you can't see it. In the New Testament theology, where is God's temple? Where is God's throne room?
In
Three
the heart,
places.
the lotus,
Oh, yeah.
the lotus of faith.
When I say the Lord be with you, we all respond,
And also
And
with
also
you.
with you
which means where's the temple?
in our
Well, in our hearts.
Yep. That is a wild understanding that God's grace and God's mercy and God's forgiveness is there at every single moment of the day, period. That is a wild reality. But, my fellow high churchy people, is that the only place where God's presence is?
No.
No.
Where else?
In the church, like in the sacrament.
Very good. Hey, right on. Right?
There you go, Abby.
I mean, if you've been with me for more than 5 minutes, I'm always saying Eucharist, 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 Eucharist. The idea is we receive the bread and the wine. Jesus's presence is there either in the bread and wine, they become Jesus's presence, they are mystically present in some way. There are multiple theologies of that, obviously, depending on a Lutheran, Episcopal, Catholic, Orthodox perspective. Well, it's clear, Jesus is really there, and he's really there in the waters of
Baptism.
which means everybody went down into the Leviathan with Jesus, and everybody got vomited up as a not tasty snack 3 days later. Congratulations, we are not Leviathan food.
Yep.
And if we are not Leviathan food, then we are always in the presence of the one into whom we are baptized, which is Jesus. So what I'd say is, it's interesting that when we come before the bread and the wine and the water, the real presence, the body and the blood and the water, right? When we come before you and you and you and you and you and you and you, once again, it's not an either or. That openness of forgiveness is there. And that's good news, because I don't know about you guys, grudging prophets. Do most of us feel very happy and eager sometimes to engage in that very difficult, challenging, wonderful, head-breaking thing called prayer sometimes? We all feel really good about it.
No. Well, I mean, sometimes I haven't been mad at God for a long time. Yeah.
I can
Hey.
say
There
I
was a
can,
time when I didn't want to talk to God, but
You and King David as well at certain points. So you're not alone. You're not alone.
yeah, mostly I pray to God often now. So
And then Ryan, you had some thoughts?
yeah, I just want to confess the sinfulness, the slothfulness of
Yeah.
my heart, which is like uh sometimes I use my prayer app in the morning as like a way to get 20 more minutes of sleep in the morning. It's like I can turn my
yeah,
prayer app on and it's like super relaxing and I stop reciting along with it and it's just like, well, I'll let them just read it over me and then I kind of knock out again. So
yeah, the
we're
same
I
thing
just
with
want to be
me. I'm
vulnerable
just
for a
like
minute.
five more minutes. Just give me 5 more minutes. I had a good dream. I don't want to wake up yet.
I'm going to be honest with all of you. My life is the public and private prayer of the church, right? And for
Yeah.
me, I am like, but that latest YouTube video looks way cooler. And oh, wait, there's a new neurotic review of the new Superman film. No, wait, there's a new review of, that's cool on YouTube as well. And I realized I could have spent all that time doing something in the commentary. And the reason why, right, at the end of the day is, once again, all of us know that we are, at least according to Luther's theology, we are saint and
Sinner.
yeah. No one here is going to have a perfect scorecard according, at least to that theology. You don't have to follow that theology in any way, shape, or form. I'm not saying all you guys need to join that specific branch, but what I am saying here is, at least from one very key Christian voice in the history of the church, none of us are going to have a perfect scorecard at trying to accomplish this. And that's because all of us are going to be distracted. That is inevitable. It is 100% inevitable. But the real question is, what do you do with that? What did Jonah do with it? When he was vomited up by the whale or the fish or the Leviathan or the underworld interdimensional dragon, what is he like, okay, God, I'm going to keep on rebelling against you. What does he do?
He does what God told him to do.
Yep. And after he did what God told him to do, was he like, yay, I did great?
No, he's mad about it.
Yeah.
Because they
Jonah's-
repented. He's like, damn it, I didn't want him to repent. I wanted to get smited.
They smote that ruin on the mountainside. Yes, Balrog Gandalf reference. Why is that significant, right? Because Jonah is a rather relatable prophet because he spends most of his time in a state of grumbling, not in surrender, right? And I think that's, I think we're all different on different degrees in that journey of awareness, of focus versus distraction. And there are seasons in my life where I'm a little more regimented and focused. Samantha's doing a great job in helping me with that with the Book of Common Prayer, which I've been really enjoying. But the thing about it is, at the end of the day, to return to focus, why is it important to focus on love of God? That should lead us to love of who? Love of God.
Our neighbors.
Our neighbor.
Right.
Love our neighbors.
And why should that be the case?
Because my neighbor is an image of myself, which is an image of God.
Right. So to do a harm against my neighbor or my own body or self or soul is to do harm against God in effigy, right? And the word is made flesh, right, and dwells among us. So the key here, right, is any religious experience. These are dangerous fighting words. You could clip this, Matt, and get me 1 billion views later on YouTube. Any religious experience that stops at self-aggrandizement, or that stops at self-pity, or God forbid, stops at self-loathing or self-annihilation, is not prayer.
No.
Is not prayer because it ends on the self.
Yeah.
And while it's important to, of course, love your neighbor as yourself. There should be an understanding of the honoring of the self made by God, an honoring of the goodness of the self made in the image and likeness of God. And in that sense, no matter how wounded we think we are in our theologies of original sin, right? We should go out, and I end the service every Sunday with what? In peace to serve the Lord?
Go in peace.
Go in peace.
Yeah. So like we don't stay on the mountaintop.
Mhm.
Jesus did not stay apart from the disciples, right? You go down. And so there is a time, once again, like Jonah going down, we are often against our own will and sometimes voluntarily, we are taken to the places we don't want to go to. For me, that was chaplaincy, for sure. And you learn there in the Sheol with other people that sometimes we are called to at least be a presence, the presence of the temple, the presence of love there, for sure. Sorry to get into a sermon there, but I think it's very important in this day and age where we see a lot of false religion in the sense of, and I'm not speaking of denominations or groups, but in the sense of ego-centeredness, right?
I think,
Yep.
So speaking of Jonah, I think that it's a really good observation to think about, his contrition or not. So in the foil that the pagans serve, so it's uh like you were saying that the Jonah really never repents, and that might be hard in some ways for us to read a text like that. But the 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 sailors do repent. The people of the city do repent in dust and ashes, and they call on the name of covenant name Yahweh. And so that's a beautiful thing in the story, like the faith that they exercise, in contrast to what is a poor response.
Yeah, the pagans are the hero of the book of Jonah.
Yeah.
The pagans are the hero.
Yeah.
And,
Which would make Jonah so mad.
yeah. And so the controversial question, we don't have to audibly respond on this, you do that in prayer requests if we want to. I think we all have a group like the Ninevites in our life, or the sailors on board, where we're like, those guys are well beyond redemption. So usually politically people talk like this. Those blankety, 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 blankety. And it's not that there aren't real problems there, right? Like God points out that they need to repent. There needs to be a changing of the whole heart of the whole person, right? But the very people known for sieging, massacring, braiding, violating the families and the lives of Israel here are considered the heroes in the text, which is wild when you think about it. But I could preach on Jonah all night long. Is there any last reflections we have about the sea monster here? And once again, God's radical grace. And I mean God's radical grace offered here to the least likely, whereas the most likely is the grumbling one here. Some people say Jonah, far away.
What I find most comforting is that God says, since what you were concerned with this vine that I caused to come up and shade you, how more shouldn't I be concerned about the city of thousands? You're like, I wanted you to go there so that they would repent. I didn't want to smite them.
Yeah. It just goes to show, once again, the sea monster is a vehicle to get this grumbling prophet to a point where he can be a vehicle for healing for others. And it just goes to show, once again, that ultimately, when we're dealing with the living creator of the universe, right? I believe to be the Father, Jesus, the Holy Spirit, the Holy Trinity, right? that when we're dealing with this God has not abandoned his creation. Look at the cross. Father, forgive them. They do not know what they are doing. And do we live with that mercy? Because Jonah, spoiler alert, by the end of the story, he does not live with that kind of compassion. Even after he succeeded in leading an entire people to turn to what's right at the end of the day. As I said, there is an ego-centeredness that leads to the pit, but there's a self-sacrificial love, which all of us imperfectly live out, but we do, we do walk in imitation of love by grace through faith. That leads hearts hopefully home. So all of you guys do that simply by being here in my life. That's for sure. Any last comments here, questions, observations before we go into prayer requests? Sam, you might want to text Matt.
I can't text Matt because my phone is next to me.
Oh, sorry. These will be very quick prayer requests, and they will be live, and I will avoid getting into the nitty gritty then of my politics.
Go through my tablet.
No. You're busy with dinner, dear. I'll make sure I take care of you.
It's okay.
Plus, I know it's getting late for you. Any last comments here before we attempt prayers? Oh, well, thank you all for coming out tonight.
Thank you for hosting it, Pastor John.
Was anyone surprised by anything or curious by anything? Did anyone find anything new here or something that was familiar but hit in a new way?
I was challenged by the sea monster thing and the connection to the great Leviathan, the chaos, and the archetypal stories of the ancient world.
Good. Mass, thank you.